The strange worker, the refinery floated like a giant beast in the dark of space. It was a place of endless noise, heavy machines, and the smell of burning fuel. Humans and aliens worked side by side, wearing the same yellow suits, fixing pipes, welding broken panels, and keeping the station alive. Among the hundreds of workers, there was one who never fit in. She always kept her hood pulled low, hiding most of her face. She spoke very little, only when the supervisors asked her something, and even then her voice was soft and strange, like a whisper carried by wind. To most people, she was just another alien worker, one more nameless figure in the crowd of grease-stained uniforms. But to Daniel, a human engineer, something about her felt different. Daniel had been on the station for 5 years. He knew the routine, the faces, the voices. Workers came and went, but he remembered them all. This woman had appeared only 3 months ago, but no one seemed to know where she came from. The records listed her as temporary labor, but nothing else. No species, no homeworld, no background. That was unusual. In the station, everyone had a file. Everyone. Daniel noticed small things. When she walked past a machine, it seemed to hum louder. When she touched a broken pipe, the sparks calmed down as if obeying her presence. Once, he saw a loose wrench fall from a high platform. It should have hit her head, but at the last second, it shifted, falling harmlessly beside her. She did not even look up. The other workers ignored her. In a place like this, people minded their own business, but Daniel could not. His curiosity grew like fire inside his chest. Who was she? Why did she always keep her hood up, even in the heat of the engine room? Why did she move with such silence, as if her feet barely touched the ground? One shift, Daniel worked near her, on the lower level. The air was thick with steam, and sparks flew from his welding torch. He glanced at her. She was fixing a control valve, her hands quick and precise, like she knew the machine better than anyone. He watched her fingers move across the panel, not with the clumsy trial and error of a worker, but with the confidence of someone who understood every wire, every bolt. He called out to her, trying to sound casual. "Hey, you new here?" She looked at him, her hood still casting a shadow across her face. Her eyes glimmered faintly in the dim light, not like normal eyes, but like cold reflections of stars. She did not answer. Instead, she turned back to her work. Daniel felt a chill. It was not anger in her silence. It was something else, something heavy, like a secret. Later that night in the mess hall, Daniel asked around, "You know that new worker? The one who always keeps her hood up?" Most shrugged. Some said they had never spoken to her. Others laughed. "Why care?" one human said. "She does her job, keeps quiet. That's better than half the crew here." But one old alien, with gray skin, leaned closer to Daniel and spoke in a low voice. "I watch her too. Machines obey her. The air moves around her. She is not what she looks like. Best you stay away." Daniel frowned. Stay away? That only made his curiosity burn hotter. Over the next days, he kept noticing her. Always at the edge of the crowd, always alone. Sometimes he caught her staring at the walls, as if listening to voices no one else could hear. Sometimes, when the lights flickered, he thought he saw her skin glow faintly under her hood. But when he blinked, it was gone. One day, the refinery alarms rang. A pressure leak had burst in one of the fuel chambers. Workers rushed with tools and gear, shouting orders. Daniel grabbed his torch and ran, his heart pounding. When he reached the chamber, he froze. The strange worker was already there. The broken pipe hissed with deadly steam. Sparks flew. One wrong move could cause an explosion. Daniel expected panic, but the woman stood calm, her hood still hiding her face. She placed her hand on the valve, and for a moment, the entire room grew quiet. The steam slowed, the sparks faded, and the metal stopped trembling. Daniel stared in disbelief. No worker could do that. Not even the best engineers. She looked at him briefly before turning away, as if daring him to speak. That night, Daniel could not sleep. He lay in his bunk, the hum of the engines echoing through the metal walls. His thoughts spun like wild gears. She was not a simple worker. He was sure of it now. But what was she hiding? And why here, in this forgotten refinery at the edge of space? The more he thought, the more he felt trapped between fear and fascination. He wanted answers. He needed them. The next day, as the workers gathered, Daniel made up his mind. He would watch her closely. He would find out who she really was, because deep down, he knew one thing for certain. This woman was not what she seemed, and whatever secret lay beneath that hood, it was not meant to stay hidden forever. The small accident. The refinery was alive with sound. Pipes rattled, machines hissed, and sparks fell like glowing rain. Workers moved through the chaos, their yellow suits blending into the smoke and steel. Daniel worked with steady hands, his welding torch cutting through thick metal plates. But his mind was far from his task. His eyes kept drifting toward the strange worker. She was across the chamber, kneeling beside a damaged conduit. Her hood was low as always, her body bent over the machine like she was whispering to it. Daniel could not look away. Every movement of her hands was too precise, too careful. She worked like someone who was not fixing the machine but commanding it. The air grew hotter, the noise louder. Then it happened. A burst of light flashed from the conduit near her. A welding spark had jumped from the metal, striking a fuel valve. The chamber filled with a sharp hiss as gas leaked out. The spark flew upward, landing close to her hood. For a moment, Daniel's heart stopped. He shouted, "Watch out!" But the woman did not move. Daniel dropped his tools and ran, his boots clanging against the steel floor. He grabbed the valve, twisting it shut with all his strength. Sparks sprayed his gloves, burning the edges, but he held on until the hissing stopped. When he turned to her, she was staring at him. And then he saw it. The hood had slipped back slightly. Only for a second, but it was enough. Her skin was not like any alien he had ever seen. It glowed faint blue, smooth as polished stone. Her eyes shimmered silver, reflecting the sparks around them like tiny mirrors. She was not breathing hard. She was not afraid. She looked calm, too calm, as if the accident had never touched her. Daniel froze. His chest tightened, and his thoughts raced. She quickly pulled her hood back into place, covering her face once more. Without a word, she turned and walked away, leaving him staring in silence. The other workers rushed in, asking questions, checking the machines, shouting orders. None of them noticed her. None of them saw what Daniel had just seen. Later, when the shift ended, Daniel searched for her. He asked workers in the hall. He checked the records again. But her file was the same. Empty lines, no name, no race, no history. It was impossible. No one could exist here without data. At dinner in the mess hall, he sat alone, his food untouched. His mind replayed the image of her glowing skin, her silver eyes. It felt unreal, like a dream, but he knew it was not. He had seen it, and now he needed to know more. The next day, he tried again. As the workers gathered, he approached her station. She was there already, repairing a power grid. He stood a few steps away. "You could have died yesterday," he said quietly. She did not answer. "You are not like the others," Daniel continued. "I saw your face." Her hands froze for just a second before moving again. Then she spoke, her voice low but sharp. "Forget what you saw." Daniel shook his head. "I cannot." She turned her head slightly. From beneath her hood, he thought he saw the faint glow again, like light trying to escape. "Then you will bring danger," she whispered. Before Daniel could speak again, the alarms blared. Red lights flashed across the walls and the sound of machinery failing filled the chamber. A coolant pipe had ruptured, spraying freezing mist. Workers shouted and scrambled for safety. Daniel grabbed his tools, his instincts pulling him to fix the break. But he stopped when he saw her. The strange worker stood near the broken pipe. Everyone else backed away, afraid of the freezing gas. But she stepped forward, raising her hand toward the leaking metal. Daniel watched in shock. The mist slowed. The broken valve twisted back into place as if guided by invisible hands. The metal bent, sealing the crack until the leak stopped completely. The alarms faded. Workers stared in disbelief. Some muttered that the safety systems had fixed themselves. Others shrugged it off, too busy to care. But Daniel knew the truth. He had seen her do it. She glanced at him across the chamber. For a heartbeat, their eyes met. Her gaze was cold, heavy with warning. Then she pulled her hood tighter and walked away. That night, Daniel could not rest. He lay awake, staring at the ceiling of his bunk. His thoughts were a storm. She was not a worker. She was not even ordinary. Machines obeyed her. Metal bent to her will. She carried power that no alien worker should have, but what was she hiding? And why here, in this refinery forgotten by the galaxy? He whispered into the silence of the night. Who are you? The question echoed in his mind, unanswered. But deep down, Daniel knew one thing. He was closer now, closer to the truth. And whatever that truth was, it would change everything. The discovery. The refinery never slept. Its engines roared through every hour. Its pipes hissed like serpents in the dark. Workers came and went in endless shifts, their faces tired, their hands black with oil. Daniel moved among them, but his mind was not on his job anymore. His thoughts stayed locked on her, the hooded worker, the one who could bend machines to her will. He had seen enough to know she carried a secret, and secrets like that never stayed safe for long. For days he watched her from a distance. She never laughed, never joined the others in their late-night games or their loud stories over meals. She worked quietly, alone, like a shadow. When the shift ended, while others crowded the dorms or the mess hall, she slipped away. Daniel began to notice it, her pattern. She never returned to the common quarters. She disappeared into the lower tunnels of the station, places most workers never went. One night, curiosity pushed Daniel past fear. He waited until the alarms signaled the end of shift, then followed her. He kept his steps light, his breath shallow, staying in the dark corners as she moved. She walked with purpose, never looking back. Down the steel stairs, past the empty maintenance levels, through narrow halls where the air smelled of rust and cold water. Finally, she reached a sealed hatch. Workers were forbidden there. It led to abandoned maintenance shafts no longer in use. Yet she placed her hand on the door, and to Daniel's shock, the lock disengaged by itself. No code, no tool. The hatch simply obeyed her touch. Daniel's heart pounded as he crept after her. The tunnel beyond was silent. Old lights flickered weakly, casting long shadows. He followed her deeper, his boots echoing on the hollow floor. At the far end, she stopped. The tunnel widened into a hidden chamber, one Daniel had never seen before. Strange symbols covered the walls, glowing faintly as if waking from sleep. Pipes and wires bent unnaturally, shaped into patterns that looked more like art than machinery. And in the center stood the woman. She lowered her hood. For the first time, Daniel saw her fully. Her skin shimmered like crystal water under moonlight. Her eyes were pools of silver, glowing softly. She raised her hands, and the chamber came alive. Metal groaned as valves twisted on their own. Broken pipes sealed themselves. Stray sparks rose into the air and floated like fireflies. Energy pulsed through the walls, humming like a living heartbeat. Daniel froze. He had never seen such power. Not from machines, not from engineers, not from any alien species he had ever met. This was different. This was impossible. She began to chant softly in a language he did not know. Her voice echoed, and the symbols on the walls flared brighter. The entire room seemed to breathe with her. Daniel leaned against the shadows, fear and awe burning inside him. He knew he should leave, should run, but his body would not move. He was witnessing something forbidden, something ancient. The woman's glow spread across the chamber. Then suddenly, her silver eyes snapped open. "Come, out," she said. Her voice was calm, but it carried weight, like thunder hiding inside clouds. Daniel's blood turned cold. She had sensed him. Slowly, he stepped from the shadows, his hands raised. I am sorry. I just wanted to understand." Her gaze cut into him. For a moment, he felt as though she could see every thought in his head. She studied him in silence, the chamber still humming around her. "You should not be here," she said. "I saw what you did," Daniel replied. His voice trembled, but he forced the words out. "The machines, the lights, the power. You are not just a worker. Who are you?" She lowered her hands. The glow faded, the chamber dimmed, and the air grew still again. Her hood slipped back over her face, hiding her features. "I am someone who must remain unseen," she whispered. "If the council learns I am here, they will come. And when they come, this place will burn." Daniel swallowed hard. "The Galactic Council, the rulers of the stars, the ones who crushed anything they feared. If they wanted her dead, it meant she was dangerous, far beyond anything he understood. But instead of stepping away, he moved closer. "I do not care what the council thinks. I want to know the truth. Please." Her silver eyes flickered beneath the hood. For a moment, Daniel thought she might strike him down. But then, slowly, she sighed. "You humans," she said, "always chasing what you should not." Daniel waited, his breath tight. She turned from him and placed her hand against the glowing wall. "My people once ruled this galaxy," she said softly. "Not with ships or weapons, but with power like this. We could speak to machines, command energy, bend metal as if it were alive. The council feared us. They called us a threat, so they hunted us. They burned our worlds. They wiped us out." Her voice grew colder. "I am the last." Daniel felt the weight of her words crush his chest. The last of her kind, a survivor hiding in the shell of a worker, carrying a secret that could shatter the galaxy's balance. Silence filled the chamber. Daniel stood frozen, torn between fear and awe. She finally looked at him again. "You have seen enough," she said. "Now you must choose. Leave me, forget me, or stay and be pulled into a war you cannot escape." Daniel's heart pounded. The choice hung heavy in the air. But deep inside, he already knew his answer, because once you saw the impossible, you could never turn away. The truth revealed. The chamber was silent after her words. The glow faded from the walls, leaving only the weak flicker of old lights. Daniel stood frozen, his breath shallow, while the hooded woman watched him with silver eyes that seemed to cut through the dark. Her voice had carried no pride when she spoke of her people. It carried sorrow, the weight of someone who had lived through fire and ruin. Daniel swallowed. "The last? You mean you are the only one left?" She turned from him, pulling her hood low again. "I should not have told you. Curiosity is dangerous. It will destroy you." But Daniel stepped closer. "You saved us, twice. You stopped the leak. You sealed the pipe. If the council wants you dead, it is because they fear what you can do. That does not make you dangerous. It makes them afraid." She lifted her head slightly. For a moment, Daniel thought he saw pain cross her glowing features. "You do not understand. My people were not saints. Our gift was power over the living pulse of machines. The Council was right to fear us. Many of us used it as a weapon. We brought war to the stars long before humans rose from their world. I carry the shame of that history." Her words struck him like a blow. Daniel wanted to argue, to tell her she was wrong, but he saw the truth in her eyes. She had lived through it. She had seen her people fall. "You could have left," Daniel said softly. "Why hide here? Why live like this, in a refinery forgotten by everyone?" She placed her hand on the glowing wall again, but this time the chamber did not awaken. Her voice grew faint. "Because power always draws hunger. The Council would hunt me if I revealed myself. The raiders would try to chain me. Even your people. Even humans would try to use me. Here, I can disappear. Here, I can survive." Daniel felt anger rise in him. Not at her, but at the galaxy that forced her into the shadows. "Survival is not living," he said. She turned, her silver gaze locking onto him. "And what would you have me do? Walk into the open? Show myself to the world? I would bring only death to those who stand near me. You saw how the machines obey. Imagine if others saw it too. Imagine the chaos." Daniel fell silent. She was right. The galaxy would not see her as a person. They would see her as a weapon. But before he could answer, a sound shook the tunnel, a low rumble followed by the faint crackle of distant fire. Alarms blared above, their echoes reaching even into the hidden chamber. The woman stiffened. Daniel's hand flew to his communicator. A voice shouted through the static. "Raiders! Raiders at the outer hull! All hands to defense positions!" Daniel's stomach dropped. Raiders, the scavengers who preyed on weak stations, who killed without mercy. He looked at her, fear rising in his chest. "This place is not safe anymore," she said. Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned with something fierce. "They will breach the walls. If they find me here." She trailed off. Daniel shook his head. "Then we fight. Together." She looked at him with disbelief, as if the thought of standing beside a human had never crossed her mind. For a long moment, silence stretched between them. Then finally, she pulled back her hood, letting the silver light of her eyes shine. "You are a fool," she whispered. "Maybe," Daniel said, gripping his welding torch like a weapon. "But I am not leaving you." The chamber trembled again as another explosion rocked the refinery. Above them, workers shouted in panic, the sound of boots pounding against steel echoing through the halls. The woman lifted her hand and the symbols on the wall flared to life once more. "Then you will see the truth of what I am. And once you do, there will be no turning back." Daniel nodded. His chest pounded, but his eyes did not leave hers. "Show me." Her silver gaze burned brighter, filling the chamber with light. For the first time, she did not hide. For the first time, she revealed herself fully, not as a worker, not as a refugee, but as the last of a people who could command the lifeblood of machines. The truth was out, and with the raiders breaking through the walls above, Daniel knew that this truth would soon change everything. The impossible choice. The refinery shook with violence as explosions rocked its outer walls. The alarms wailed like screams in the dark, red lights flashing across every corridor. Workers shouted in panic, some grabbing tools as weapons, others running for cover. The air was thick with fear, the kind that made men freeze in their tracks. Daniel ran beside her through the lower tunnels, his lungs burning. He could hear the pounding of boots above, the cries of people trapped, the thundering blasts of raider weapons cutting into the steel hull. "They will reach the core," she said. Her voice was calm, too calm. even as the world around them trembled. Once they take the power systems, this place will fall. Daniel tightened his grip on the welding torch. It was all he had. A tool turned into a weapon. Then we stop them. She stopped in her tracks, turning to him. Her silver eyes glowed under the hood. You do not understand. If I fight them, I will reveal myself. The council will know I live. They will come for me. They will come for anyone near me, including you. Daniel's heart pounded. He knew she was right. If she unleashed her power, there would be no hiding anymore. The council would hear of it. And yet, if she stayed silent, if she kept her secret, then the raiders would slaughter everyone on this station. It was an impossible choice. Above them, another explosion tore through the refinery. Dust rained from the ceiling, and the walls groaned. Daniel grabbed her arm, forcing her to look at him. You can save them. I have seen what you can do. Please, if you let this station fall, you will not only lose your secret, you will lose your soul. Her eyes flickered with pain. For the first time, Daniel saw doubt in her face. She had carried this burden alone for so long, hiding from the galaxy, but now the weight pressed harder. She looked toward the ceiling, hearing the screams above. Then she pulled back her hood. The silver light of her eyes burned brighter than before, and her skin glowed like ice touched by flame. Energy sparked around her, rising like threads of lightning. Stay close, she said. Daniel nodded, his chest tightening. He had no idea what would come next, but he knew he had already chosen his side. Together, they climbed toward the upper levels. The corridors were filled with chaos, workers hiding, raiders smashing doors, weapons blazing with fire. One raider turned his gun toward them, his face hidden behind a steel mask. Before Daniel could move, she raised her hand. The gun flew from the raider's grip as if ripped away by invisible claws. The steel bent in the air, twisting into a useless knot before falling to the floor. The raider screamed, but a welding arm from the ceiling swung down like a living beast, slamming him against the wall. Workers gasped, their eyes wide in terror and awe. They saw her now. Not a worker, not a shadow. Something else, something greater. More raiders charged, their boots thundering. Sparks erupted from the walls as panels ripped open by themselves, spraying wires like whips. Machines roared. Alive, moving as if under her command. Pipes twisted into barriers, blocking enemy fire. Daniel stood frozen, watching the impossible unfold. She was everywhere at once, her will bending the refinery itself into a weapon. What had been lifeless steel became her army. But with every strike, with every burst of power, Daniel knew the truth. The galaxy would hear of this. Word would spread. She could never hide again. The raiders began to fall back, their leader shouting for retreat. The station shook one last time as their ship pulled away, leaving only silence behind. The workers stared at her. Some whispered prayers. Others backed away in fear. None of them knew what she was. None of them could understand. Daniel stepped forward, his chest still heaving. You saved them. You saved all of us. Her glow dimmed as she pulled her hood back up. Her silver eyes flickered with sadness. No, I have doomed myself. The council will come now. They always come. Daniel clenched his fists. Then let them. You are not alone anymore. She looked at him, her expression unreadable. For a long moment, neither spoke. Around them, workers whispered, torn between gratitude and terror. The impossible choice had been made. She had chosen to reveal herself, to save lives instead of hiding. And now, Daniel knew, the galaxy would never be the same.